morning. Look at all you winners here this early in the morning. I applaud all of you for going out at night and still showing up early in the mornings for the first sessions. Thank you very much. I know how tough it could be. So we've got 3 sessions today, plus the VIP one-to-ones, a little bit of lunch, and some hanging out with the delegates and other folks today. First up is a case study with FACEIT, excuse me, and I'd like to bring up Mick and Kirsty.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Final day of Esports Bar. Hope you aren't all feeling too worse for wear. Very excited to kick off the final day. So thank you for joining us. My name's Kirsty. I'm the founder and director of Swipe Right PR. We're a specialist communications agency dedicated to esports and video games. And we look after some of the biggest brands in the industry, from Tencent and ByteDance to Red Bull and FACEIT. I'm joined by Michele ATTISANI, the co-founder and chief business officer of FACEIT, and we will be talking about grassroots esports, something that's incredibly important to the entire industry. It's vital that we create a sustainable ecosystem, and we'll be exploring how brands should be supporting the scene. So, hi Michele, how are you?
I'm very good. You?
Very good, thank you. Firstly, why don't we find out a little bit more about you and your background, please?
Thank you. So thanks for having me, first of all. As you rightfully say, I'm one of the co-founders of FACEIT, and I've been chief business officer for the company. And FACEIT has been around for almost 10 years now. We're the largest competitive gaming platform globally, and we serve different stakeholders in the esports ecosystem, starting from esports players and fans, as well as game publishers and developers, and a number of brands that want to, let's say, support this very affluent audience.
Excellent, thank you. And I've been working with FACEIT for many years now, seen a lot of consistent growth, but obviously the last year has been quite challenging for a lot of us in the industry. So firstly, I think it would be amiss not to talk about how COVID impacted FACEIT as a business.
Yeah, so first of all, it's a bit weird, but also exciting to be here, you know, and the first, like, you know, in-person conference after 2 years taking conference calls in, you know, our pajamas from bedrooms. So it's super exciting to be here amongst, like, you know, peers in the industry. And yeah, of course, there's been like a lot of talks around COVID and the impact on esports. I have to say, like, you know, I agree with the, you know, most of the opinions I've been hearing this week at Esports Bar. Ultimately, for FACEIT, as online platform, we saw a huge spike in increase in traffic throughout the COVID period, as people were striving to find ways to connect and, you know, be together in the digital space. And obviously, being a platform that really has a lot of hardcore gamers and competitive gamers, we saw a lot more, let's say, consistency within the playing patterns of all these players on the platform.
Excellent. And I think I share your sentiment about finding it very odd being in an actual IRL event, not wearing pajamas, but also this is the most dressed up I've been in about 2 years. So
exactly.
And in terms of FACEIT's growth, you reached a fantastic milestone of 23 million users. But I'd love to find out a little bit more about sort of how FACEIT came about, the original concept for the business.
Yeah. So as I said earlier, we started about 10 years ago. We saw a clear opportunity as we looked at all the key drivers of the esports industry going in a positive direction, where connectivity being more widely available, distribution of computers and smartphones, and also video games changing business model more towards free-to-play. So really lowering the barrier to entry and enlarging the esports audience. At the time, I'd say the market had a few interesting companies, but most companies were focused either on organizing esports events, or was the early days of Twitch, for example. So there was the emergence of live streaming content, and ultimately with FACEIT, we saw an opportunity to do something different and unique in the space. FACEIT has been funded by a group of people with diverse backgrounds, one professional gamer, consultant, a banker, and ultimately what we had in common was this passion for gaming and esports, from the LAN parties in the basements in the late 90s and early 2000s. And we saw an opportunity to create a community that is accessible to everyone. So for players of every skill level, coming from everywhere in the world. And that's what we basically set out to do with the FACEIT and started. And we believe that that's critical for the whole growth of esports and infrastructure, like you have in traditional sports. Let's say the NBA would not exist if it wasn't for hundreds of thousands of players that are playing basketball all over the world, from schools and academies and in competitions and tournaments. And so that's what we really set out to do in the esports space.
Thank you. And just thinking about sort of the longevity of FACEIT and the original mission that you set out to achieve, and you've set up, alongside the platform, you also set up the FACEIT Pro League. And that has been a very strong example of how we can go about creating a more sustainable grassroots ecosystem. And you also touched on sort of, I suppose, the importance of things of like the NBA and how we can kind of compare to traditional sports. I think it's really important that we continue having these conversations. These conversations around grassroots esports have been going on for a number of years. We all talk about what we should be doing to help develop the scene, but it still remains underdeveloped. So why is that, in your opinion?
I think it's a question of maturity of the industry. We've been obviously investing in the space, but compared to more traditional sports being established for in some cases like hundreds of years, we still need to do a bit of catching up. Obviously with esports, there's been a lot of investment going into the space, and a lot of this investment has been predominantly focused on the professional level and big tournaments, big competitions, which is I'd say the most visible and commercial side of esports. While we think that grassroots is now finally becoming more relevant in terms of discussions in the industry and investment as well. And this is definitely something that we want to drive as a company. We've been doing a lot. I think nowadays you have a lot of esports teams, for example, professional teams that can access talent more easily. They can find ways to find new talents. And as you mentioned, a big core focus for us on that side has been the creation development of FPL to really support that process. I think we have some really unique opportunities compared to traditional sports because the accessibility of gaming and esports really give us the opportunity to bring people together at scale with no barriers, and having these stories of players going from zero to hero has been an inspiration for hundreds of thousands of players in esports today that are engaging in the space.
And you've just touched on accessibility, obviously one of the key pillars here in the title, no less. So I'd love to sort of, I suppose, just unpack what the key aspects have been behind FACEIT's success, not just for the platform, but again, the FPL, the FACEIT Pro League. Yeah,
so first of all, starting from a FACEIT mission, which is to provide a great competitive experience by fostering development of communities and ecosystem in gaming. This is where, let's say the foundation of our business, and when it comes to grassroots development specifically, we have 3 fundamental principles that we base that on. The first one is aspiration, the second is inclusiveness, and the third is accessibility.
Excellent. Let's start with Aspiration. So you've done a lot to create communities within the platform, giving them an opportunity to hone their skills. Can you talk a little bit about sort of what Aspiration means to you?
Yeah, so Aspiration starts with developing professional circuits, so pro-level competitions, and really showing players what it's like to be a professional gamer and perform at the highest level of the competition. So that's really where we started as a company. And then, soon after that, we started developing programs for talent growth and discovery. FPL first and foremost, and ultimately connecting these two pieces together. So the professional side and the talent development side. And then, thanks to that, starting with 2015. With FPL in 2015, we've been having some great success with over 30 players that went through this system and ultimately ended up becoming professional players, and some of them already recognized as some of the best players in the world.
And in terms of inclusivity, I see this as being quite a big challenge for the gaming industry, not just esports. So what should we aim for when we talk about inclusivity, and what are the tools that could potentially help?
Yeah, so I think as a reference earlier, we have a unique advantage being a digital medium. This gives us the ability to create an ecosystem that is accessible to everyone, no matter the gender, age, religion, or geography. Everyone can be part of it. And everyone can join in the fun and the experience of competitive gaming. So that's what really set out to build as a company. And again, compared to traditional sports, that gives us a huge advantage, right? We don't have to physically get people in the same room, and that gives us the ability to make it extremely accessible. So that comes with the let's say the inclusiveness part. When it comes to experience, that's a critical piece. So we want to provide an environment that has respect and fair play as core components. So we'll be investing really heavily into technology, like the FACEIT anti-cheat and our anti-toxicity engine, to really build this experience in a way that is scalable for millions of players to be part in.
And finally, in terms of accessibility, I think we all know that there are quite a few games out there that are quite difficult to master, let alone just pick up and play. So how do you go about sort of supporting the accessibility route?
Yeah, so definitely we think accessibility is maybe the most relevant. The experience needs to be simple, reliable, and smooth. And for us, we've been working really closely with game publishers and developers. First to build integrations that remove the friction from competitive gaming online on our platform, and ultimately also to design systems that are accessible for players of every skill level, right? And it's not, as you said, just about the professionals or the super hardcores, but being able to have mass level participation, it's key in being able to succeed in the space.
And earlier on, you mentioned that the grassroots community is becoming more attractive to brands, to investors, and definitely for partners. So can you tell us a little bit more about what you see is coming next?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very early stages still, but we're working with a relevant player in the fashion industry, with Gucci, to empower a new generation of talent in esports. So this is an industry-first collaboration that we're looking at that is designed to go deeper than partnership we've seen before in the space, and supporting the core community and offering a path to pro by providing the tools for self-development.
Excellent. And this is obviously super exciting. Nice jacket and bag, by the way. So
thank you.
It's a good start to any partnership, really, isn't it? And I suppose you mentioned that this is an industry first. So I'd love for you to explain a little bit more about that. What is actually going to make this partnership unique?
Yeah. So first of all, I think it's not enough for a company to simply recognize an opportunity anymore. Every major brand needs to use their voice to stand for something today if they want to have a meaningful impact. FACEIT as a company was funded to create a more equitable way for players to become professionals, and player come first and to compete, and then ultimately they stay to be part of a community. And the community is built on ideals like inclusion, we talked about it, respect, and self-expression, which are values that are reflected very strongly in the Gucci brand as well.
And in terms of those, I suppose those values, it'd be good to understand what the core function of that partnership will be.
Absolutely. So, I mean, the core function is empowering and celebrating talent in esports, which we think is critical for the development of the industry. We want to support the growth of role models of tomorrow as they go through like a FACEIT and FPL. And we want to amplify the current stars who are positive models in the industry today. And esports seen so many brands like dip their toes in the space, and you know, we have taken strong commitments to do more in the future.
I think it's great to hear, I suppose, sort of the unique proposition behind that partnership.
Yeah.
And it's great to sort of see how two brands' values are going to come together and sort of connect as well. And also, I suppose, the importance of what that's going to bring to the community, which is very rare, I think, in most partnerships. So it sounds like you two are very aligned, but what was it initially that drew you to Gucci as a partner? Yeah,
I think you know, this is a really expansive partnership that is going to be instrumental for, you know, both companies' esports plans in the future. And you know, Gucci's always been pushing a positive message in gaming, and that's obviously been attractive to us as a company. And it's important we recognize the impact that our platform can make on the next generation of players and talent, ultimately. And we know that in order to bring a meaningful and lasting impact on the industry, people must be the pillars that the community stands upon, ultimately.
Thank you. That's a powerful statement to end our talk on. So thank you so much for giving us a very deep dive into the origins of FACEIT, the values, and also an exclusive reveal of this fantastic partnership as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks for listening.